When Kamome Shirahama was graduating from Tokyo University, she still believed that being a mangaka was an impossible job. But then, she met some professionals, normal people, no capes, no superpowers, just humans, paying bills with manga money. That moment flipped a switch in her brain, and she started seeing manga as a challenge. At home, Shirahama was already marinating in manga greatness. Her house was packed with Moto Hagio's work, thanks to her mom being a hardcore fan. She especially loved Seiga Nakayama's Alfheim no Kishi, a medieval fantasy classic. A princess loses her kingdom to an evil mage and teams up with the elves to win it all back. Basically a blueprint for every JRPG ever made. Though, heads up, reading it today feels like deciphering a Jackson Pollock painting. I respect the classics, but from a safe distance. Another important influence came from Western media. The use of thick lines and rough hatching pattern, almost like the characters are made out of stone, are deeply inspired by Mobius' style. But Hagio's influence adds flow, like her lines are swirling, while Mobius explore more angular lines in his compositions. Additionally, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter were also her favorite fantasy books. And with this mix of visual and narrative influences, Shirahama already had a promising angle for her stories, so she dropped her first one-shot in 2011, publishing a magazine named Fellows. The story is about a little girl looking for her cat named Noir, and since her parents are too occupied to even listen to her, she gets out of the house and starts her hunt. She chases around another cat and asks for Noir to every single person she comes across. A biker almost runs her over, mistaking her for a cat. She then encounters a group of foreigners who can't understand what she's saying. She passes through some kids playing in the yard, then an old man sees her falling out of the sky and thinks he may be drunk. Then finally, she arrives at a restaurant, where some gals are eyeballing a waiter. She tries to look for Noir under her dress, revealing the woman's underwear to everyone. And the woman punishes her by throwing the little girl in the trash. God damn, lady, calm down. The waiter is taking out the trash and is about to throw out that huge bag right on top of where the girl landed. That's when the woman felt remorse for her actions and tries to stop the waiter, but he was wearing earbuds and doesn't listen to her. Bro, this plotline is crazy. What the hell is going on? Anyway, the trash has wheels and goes downhill super fast, almost hitting the biker again, until finally comes to a stop right in front of the cat. But just as everything seems to be lost, she realizes she just makes back into her room, and lo and behold, Noir was there all along, just behind her drawer, and with that the little story ends. At first glance, it feels like a pretty inconsequential story. Things just sort of happen one after the other. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I can totally see this style of story working on comics in newsletters. Sometimes those are just 4 panels long with little funny situations. In this case, I think Shirahama wanted to challenge herself to create something even without a complex overarching story, just to see how it would turn out. And the amount of detail she puts into every single panel is really incredible. Even her room looks completely identical on the second time through, even though it's clear that Shirahama drew everything again, not just copy and pasted. I know some of this stuff might sound like basic, but I've gotta give praise to Shirahama. Her sheer technical skill and consistency is not normal, and maybe we've grown accustomed to mangakas being absolute genius and everything being always perfect, and it's easy to forget how much effort goes into these things. There is this implied metaphor that the little girl is acting and being treated like she's an actual feline, wandering around, not being understood, irritating people, and then being mistreated, almost dying to a biker. Maybe Shirahama wants us to put ourselves into a cat's shoes. Not the cats wear shoes anyway. Another cool detail is that Noir was really behind the drawer since the beginning. If you go back to the very first panel, you can see his tail in the shadows. After her little test drive, Shirahama wanted to get her hands into a bigger project. So in the next years, she released Eniale Dewiela, Eniale Dewi for short. This is a 3-volume story based around 2 main characters. Eniale is an angel, and Dewiela is a demon. Despite their opposite natures, they are actually close friends. They have huge fights over things like one using the other's makeup or clothes, sort of like same-age sister relationship, but with demigod powers. The first chapter revolves around an abandoned baby that appeared on a bench while Annie and Dewi were fighting. They decide to look for the mother on Earth, and their first idea is to spread drawings of him so that the mother will recognize and hopefully come after the baby. Annie is horrible at drawing, so they spread Dewi's drawings. But since she's a demon, all her illustrations freak out people, and it's no helping that they spread through the whole planet. People start to theorize if aliens are involved, and the plan goes nowhere. Next, they steal one of the holy trumpets to send a voice signal. People all around the world start to hear Eniela's voice, through the radio, telephone, even military communications. It's funny that this is the trumpet that is supposed to be used in Armageddon, so in a way the manga simulates how it would play out when those trumpets were actually playing. Imagine receiving a phone call and it's just trumpets being played for 5 minutes straight. That's when you know you were cooked, dog. Anyway, this plan also doesn't work. The mother must have abandoned the baby and doesn't want him back, so Eniale decides on finding a substitute for the mother. Dewi objects this plan as she doesn't agree on forcing someone to take care of the child for the rest of their lives. They did manage to control people previously, so I figure Eniale was going to command a human to take care of the baby. Since there seems to be no other option, Dewiela uses her last resort and summons a colossal hellhound to get everyone's attention. This message is for the mother who left her child at the park. Please step forward and identify yourself. If not, everyone will be eaten up. People start to form cults looking for the mother, military sending missiles to take down the hound, and in the climax of hypocrisy, a child calls for his mom amidst the destruction that Annie and Dewi caused. This immense power in the hands of straight-up inconsequential characters is the whole dynamic this story is based on. But before the whole world goes to shit, Annie receives a call. Hello? Eniale? It's me, the big guy. Yep. That's God talking. And it turns out that this is his son. Not Jesus, mind you, but actually the son between God and a pigeon. So as an angel comes to take the baby, Eniale cries and messes up her makeup. And that's when she realizes that all her foundation was used up. So they start fighting again, just like the beginning of the chapter. This manga is episodic, so situations start and end in the confinements of one episode. It works best for comedic stories such as this one, and I recommend reading if you just want to read something fun. In later chapters, bigger narratives does start to develop, as an investigator starts to piece together that everything that is going on the planet must have a single actor behind, and then he tries to exorcise Dewiela. But I'm not going to spoil the outcome of the manga. Go check it out if you're curious. In 2012, Kamome helped on a collaborative project on Sakamoto Desuka by Nani Sano. This anthology is 21 separate pages illustrated by different mangakas, and this is the Kamome Shirahama illustration. If you're questioning yourself about the connection between these two mangas, what I found out is that they are both launching on the same year, 2012, and also they were released on the same magazine, formerly named as Fellows. Currently they go by the name of Haruta, and the list of good manga in this magazine is quite big, so it seems that 21 Melodies for Sakamoto is a collaborative work for many mangakas that were working for Fellows in 2012. Around 2015, Kamome Shirahama brought her portfolio to Comic-Con in New York, and that's when the unthinkable happened. Kamome managed to get noticed by Marvel Comics, being commissioned to draw a cover for Marvel Star Wars, Dr. Aphra. And like a domino effect, she started drawing for similar giants like DC's Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. It's needless to say that Shirahama's drawings are out of this world. She managed to seamlessly fuse all her inspirations into her own breathtaking style. This international cover project established her abroad all before Witch Hat Atelier even began. Shirahama's view on creativity is similar to that of magic. In an interview, she stated that though it might seem impossible at first, if you approach it like a challenge and truly believe that it's possible, anyone can learn it and completely change their life because of it. And I strongly agree to that claim. There is of course a thick barrier between consumers and creators. With enough determination, anyone can shatter this wall and bring your ideas to life. And I have to say, it feels pretty good, but only for a while. Like a flashlight that reveals what's hiding in the dark, you realize how far you've come and how long there is still ahead. And at the same time, going back now is completely impossible. Was this really what you wanted? If you felt haunted by the dark turn this video took, let me explain myself that there is no other way of making you understand this manga without making you go through some discomfort. It's clear that Shirahama aims to encourage their readers to pursue their dreams, telling stories about characters who overcome their limitations, and sometimes even their disabilities. A touchy subject that Shirahama handles with a lot of care. But what lies deep within is not simply a story about social ascension, but more like a social betrayal. We will be diving into spoilers up until chapter 26, so skip to this part of the video if you haven't read it. Shirahama has described the origin of the story around 2011. While chatting with fellow illustrators, someone remarked, "The process of a picture being born is like magic." That inspired her to create a tale about people whose job is to draw magic circles. From the very first draft, she built a series around the idea that although people say ordinary people can't be wizards, actually anyone can be if they try. This theme that magic, and by analogy creative work, should be accessible to all, has been central to the series. Our protagonist Coco is a young girl with a deep affection towards magic. Her first encounter in her childhood left a big impression on her. The gentle witch made cobblestone bricks glow under underneath her feet and sold her a spell book and pen. But different from what she believed, magic wasn't for everyone. Witches are mysterious, gifted individuals who are able to bring miracles to reality. How do they do it? No one knows. With the dream of being a witch buried in her heart, Coco spends her days helping her mom with her shop. Till one day, noble customers arrive in a magical chariot. At the same time, a tall lad was looking for a piece of cloth with notated measurements in hand. Coco and her mother quickly attended to the customers. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside. The magical chariot was mysteriously dismantled, and with no witch around to fix it, the nobles were left stranded. That's when the gentleman revealed himself as a witch and stood up to fix the chariot, but only under one condition. He asked for some space at the shop to perform his magic, and was willing to fix the chariot for free as long as no one sees him casting the spell. Ironically, Coco was assigned to watch the door as the witch made preparations, and by curiosity she climbed the shack and took a peek inside. That's when she saw the truth. What she saw inside actually wasn't something out of the ordinary. The witch was simply drawing. Witches draw magic. The pen and spell book she received was actually the same kind of tool the witch was using to fix the chariot. So after the customers leave, she hides into her room and starts drawing the spell depicted on the book, and magic starts to flow out of the drawings. There is no difference between witches and normal people, but there is a reason all of this power was hidden from everyone. Without noticing, Coco drew a deadly spell that turned her entire house and mother into stone. The witch who fixed the carriage managed to get in and save Coco just in time before she became stone. And since he felt guilt from all the events that just transpired, he takes Coco into his atelier as his new apprentice. From a storytelling perspective, this introduction is so well crafted. It's amazing for me how the world, the main character, and the magic system all fits together. If you were to create a story in the same universe, can you think of a better protagonist than Coco? I surely cannot. She fits like a glove in this scenario. She discovers that the witches erase the memory of the world, because evil witches use magic for war. These witches became known as the Brimmed Hats, and the prohibited spells are all guarded on a tower that only skilled witches can enter. So now she needs to train, pass all the tests in order to get access to the huge library, and hopefully discover which spell she accidentally used to petrify her mother. In the atelier, we are introduced to other apprentice witches. Titia, who is the energetic type, loves when people thank her. She's a bit of an oddball. Richie, who is a silent type, can draw small spells super fast, but refuses to use spells from other people, and even refuses to take on tests, even though she's totally capable of passing. And my favorite apprentice, Agathe. Being honest, it's very hard for me to truly like a character. Agathe is kinda designed to be hated, and ironically, this is why she's so memorable. She is initially very judgmental towards Coco. She rejects an outsider coming from a no-witch family, sharing the same space as her in the atelier. And yes, you can think of her as a gatekeeper or elitist, until you realize that she's a kid, and kids only express this kind of ideas if they are the ones that suffer from it first. Agathe grew up in a gatekeeping elitist family, and she herself was rejected for not being good enough. Her suffering defines her personality, and looking at Coco getting all that special treatment really doesn't feel fair to everyone who worked hard to become a witch. For Agathe, hard work and success are deeply connected to love. Someone who didn't put in the work just doesn't deserve to be loved. And that's the reason she and Coco have such a good character chemistry. Coco accepts her flaws and wants to fix the things that she's broken, even playing around her own failures. Agathe is totally surprised by that approach, because her identity is that she can't fail. She has to succeed. She has to prove herself. She and everyone like her has to prove themselves. And she almost kills Coco twice because of that mindset. And this is why this manga hits different for me. It really doesn't matter how good your magic system or your fantasy world is, if the characters are not interesting and the dynamic between them don't lead to interesting scenes. Witch Hat blows that out of the park, as character development takes center stage very quickly. And if a manga can make you love its characters in the introduction, then it only gets better from there. Another character that I wanted to highlight is Quifrey himself, the teacher. I see a lot of myself in him. I grew up watching Harry Potter, and although I've loved the teachers, I've never related to them. But maybe it's because I'm older now and being responsible is a huge part of my life. Seeing Quifrey struggling between keeping up appearances to his students, dealing with his internal struggles, and sometimes even taking decisions that break the rules he himself teaches, it's so truthful to human nature. I'll give you some context. Coco is almost taken by the witch police, because she caused major destruction with her spell. A small rock digging spell caused the whole river to collapse in sand, but such a spell could never have been casted by someone unexperienced, so how the hell did that happen? Quifer starts to investigate and discovers that her ink bottle was enchanted, a spell that connects two bottles over big distances. And on the other side, the evil witch who sold the book and pen to Coco is pouring her own blood into the bottle. When Quifer discovers this, he tests out the blood by using a light spell, and even though the circle is pretty small, it causes a huge light bomb that flashbangs the whole shop for a second. The shop owner Nonoa, seeing how this ink must be something connected to the war witches, demand Quifer to contact the authorities. As for the rules, witches are obligated to report on any violation of their laws, but Quifer doesn't want this case to fall off from his hands. This could even mean that Coco would be taken away. Quifer then apologizes to Nonoa, and what he does afterward is not shown. When Tarta asks Nonoa about the huge light that hit the shop, he has no recollection of it, so we can only assume that Quifer erased his memories. This huge contrast between the way he treats his apprentices and the lengths he will go to get what he wants makes Quifer such a complex character for me. Gentle, but at the same time cold. And this double-sided nature is the trademark for Shirahama characters. Orugo has the visual and demeanor of a grumpy father, and in his introduction, he's pretty inconsiderate towards Coco's situation, almost getting into a conflict with Quifer. But later you realize all his actions come from a place of worry and care. He goes out of his way to create contraptions to please people. He's the one that created the shiny cobblestones Coco saw as a child, and in the chapter that he creates runes that warm blankets, I fully knew he was a sweet guy. Shirahama subverts your expectation by introducing the character in an extreme situation, to make him appear as the opposite of what he truly is. A common thing through the manga is the idea of doing something you previously thought was impossible. From an external perspective, is overcoming one's limitations. Tarta is a good example of this. He's the apprentice of the shop owner Nonoa, who never got to be a witch because he has silver wash, a type of color blindness that makes everything look gray. Tarta sells potions, but he can't distinguish between them, so he arranges them in a set order, so all he has to do is mark their positions, not relying on their colors. But when Coco gets sick, Tarta is completely unable to help her, since the potions in the hospital storage doesn't even have labels. That's when Coco's drawing a spell that, upon contact with a vial, reveals the shape of the plant from which the potion was extracted. And Tarta, knowing every plant shape by heart, becomes as competent or even better than any witch to distinguish between potions. Something I've realized is that you don't need to think hard to be able to imagine how your life would be if you had silver wash. Because the manga is monochrome, just like Tarta, when we are seeing the potions without labels, we don't know which one is which. A smart catch, Shirahama. I do hope they add a black and white filter in the anime during this part, so this idea translates well to the adaptations. In chapter 14, we discover that the witches have 5 tests that grant titles and permissions. The second test being the one that allows you to cast spells in public. At the Serpent's Back cave, Agot and Richie are preparing to take the second test. That's when a witch from another atelier arrives. It's Kukro with his apprentice Euni for his third attempt at going through the cave. Kurko is the type of teacher who sees his apprentices as a burden, and Euni, after years of struggling to live up to his teacher's expectations, had no confidence in himself. The test consists on taking care of a small creature and guiding it to the other side of the cave. But here's the catch. These wacky penguins will run away if they realize you are human. So the witches disguise themselves, and more importantly, can't be seen casting, or else the penguinos will realize who they truly are and flee. Right as they enter, they realize the Serpent's Back is not a normal world. It is bound by a gravitational spell that allows those who pass to walk sideways and even upside down. But due to erosion, many of the contraptions broke down, and stepping on the wrong stone can make you fall all the way back to the start of the bridge. The character dynamic right from the get-go is pretty crazy. Richie hates being told what to do and solves problems by using unorthodox spells. Agot is pretty logical and uses water to test the stones before stepping on them. Uni, on the other hand, is only using 2 spells, and when he realizes that the bridge broke down and another solution is needed, he falls to the ground and starts sobbing. That is because he is unable to draw if someone is looking at him. He can't keep a steady hand, so he spent the entire year pre-drawing spells to use them on the test. But now none of the spells are useful for this situation. That's when Richie calls him out. If you need to be alone to cast your spells, then be alone. If you can do it through spells, then do it without magic. Ewini sinks into his cloak from shame, but that's when he realizes that the disguise they are wearing is actually a spell that hides and a spell that reflects. So by altering the sigil slightly, he is able to become a shadow, and without anyone seeing him, his shaking stops and he's able to cross the bridge. But just as he lands, the witch that was guiding them, Alara, is attacked by a brimmed hat. This witch used magic to overcome the limitations of his own body and becoming something else entirely. a sentient floating eyeball that casts spells. He attacks the kids and gets a hold of Agot. That's when Eugenie and Richie work together to crumble the bridge underneath the witch and force him to fall. But since the witch is just an eyeball and cloak, he's unaffected by gravity and attacks Eugenie. He casts a spell that transforms Eugenie into a wolf. This part really shocked me the first time reading it. We just met this witch, saw him develop and overcome a struggle just to see him getting his fate sealed by a spell that we don't even have idea if it's reversible or not. The story is not afraid to change and to layer conflicts one on top of another. During this arc, we have at least 5 things happening at once. It's pure cinema. I can't wait to see this animated. I'm gonna be fair with you, there's a lot more to unpack on this manga, and I don't wanna lose focus on the objective of this video. I want to go through the whole timeline of Shirahama as an artist, so I promise I'll cover the rest of the manga as well as its theories in a future video. And a way you can help that come into reality is by subscribing. Now let's see what Shirahama did after her magnum opus. After Witch Hat Atelier, Shirahama received many awards and became established as a mangaka in the industry. She made an illustration for the end card of Ascendance of the Bookworm in 2019 for the episode 7 of the 3rd season. She also collaborated with Sato Hiromi to create a spin-off of Witch Hat Atelier about cooking. From what I've seen, the drawing quality is as great as the original, so it's definitely a must-read. Another of her collaborative projects that released on 2020 is Gugutsu Senki. This one seems to be pretty much lost media. I've only found the prologue, and so far there's no way of knowing what's the story about. But from the looks of it, it seems to be a fantasy revolving around the medieval age, in constant war, and I got figured that we'll be able to aid certain heroes on their journeys. I got some Berserk vibe from it, but it's hard to tell. She later worked directly on a different project, The Enemy of Star Wars Visions, The Elder, in 2021, as a character designer. This is a big role in an anime production, and she did a wonderful job bringing those characters to life for the screen. She's also the illustrator of Dante Agliari, the servant in Fate Grand Order mobile game. If you don't know, Fate Grand Order is super huge, not only in Japan but in the whole world, with a monthly global player base of 1 million stinky otakus. Just for comparison, as of the date I'm recording this video, Overwatch 2 is standing at an impressive 12 million mark for its player base, despite YouTubers claiming it is dead. The difference is big, but at least you can get a sense of how much of the pie FGO is eating. Bit of a side tangent, but I just wanted you to get a sense of how far Kamome Shirahama went at this stage of her career. She pretty much has become mainstream now. In 2023, she joined Egaku, Draw the Song, a project where artists paint their favorite music. She created a key visual for the exhibition, an original illustration for the song Grab the Air by singer Millet. A casual rumor that I found claims that she has published manga titles other than those publicly known. This would not be uncommon. Yuki Nobutatsu tried to publish his earlier books under a pseudonym, but later was found by the fanbase. Maybe early Shirahama works are just under our noses, but we just didn't put the pieces together yet. That made me go into a little chase after possible clues to support this theory, and I did find something. No way, dude. Why is no one talking about this? I found the hidden one-shots of Kamome Shirahama. Kamome has a bunch of small one-shots posted to their Pixiv that were never translated, so I went ahead and translated them all, and I'm currently just finishing the editing of the video showcasing everything that I found. So if you don't want to miss it, hit that subscribe. If we hit 1000 subscribers, I will know that there is a real interest in a deep dive manga content like this, and that would help me overcome my crippling insecurity.